All over the galaxy, the Nolari people watched their worlds fade away. Once their stars were bright and their cities were full of laughter and light. Now, everywhere was quiet. Many buildings stood empty. Parks and markets were silent. Even, the wind seemed to carry the sadness of a people who knew their time was ending. The Nolari Alliance had always been proud. They believed in science, in kindness, and in peace. For hundreds of years, their world was safe. Then, the Creel arrived. No one knew where the Creel came from. They looked nothing like the Nolari. Some said the Creel were born in the dark space between the stars. They moved quickly from one planet to another, taking over with no warning. Their ships appeared like shadows. Their weapons cut through any defense. But the worst thing was the sickness they brought. The Creel did not only attack with ships. They spread a strange, deadly virus that moved from world to world. The Nolari doctors could not cure it. Their scientists worked day and night, but nothing helped. People grew weak, then faded away. It did not matter if you were young or old, rich or poor. The virus touched everyone. Soon, most Nolari worlds went dark. Only a few small groups of survivors were left. Some ran to deep space. Others hid in underground bunkers. A small number made it to the last safe place, the moon called Lennar, far from the main planets. Here, under thick shields, the last Nolari gathered. On Lennar, people waited in fear. Every day, they looked up at the sky, expecting to see the Creel's ships. Leaders met in secret, talking in worried voices. The head of the council, Elder Farron, walked the halls, searching for hope in the faces of his people. But he saw only fear and sadness. One night, Elder Farron called a meeting in the main hall. All the survivors who could walk came to listen. They filled the seats, but no one spoke. Even the children sat quietly holding each other's hands. "We have tried everything," Elder Farron said. His voice was soft, but it reached every corner of the room. "We have searched for a cure. We have fought with all our strength. Now, we are almost out of time. Soon, the Creel will find us. We cannot run again." Someone in the crowd stood up. It was Mira, a young scientist. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was strong. "I heard a story," she said. "A story about the humans from Earth." The room grew even quieter. Some looked hopeful. Others shook their heads. "The humans?" whispered one of the elders. "They live so far away. They are just a story for children." Mira shook her head. "No. I met a traveler once, a trader from the far side of the galaxy. He said he saw humans fight and win battles no one else could. He said they never give up. He said they always find a way." Farron listened. He looked around at the tired faces in the room. "If there is even a small chance, we must try. We have nothing left to lose." One of the technicians, a quiet man, named Vec, nodded. "Our deep space beacon is still working. I can send a message. But we don't know if anyone will hear us." Farron placed a hand on Vec's shoulder. "Send it. Tell the humans everything. Tell them we need help, that our people are dying. Ask them to come, even if it's only to show us how to survive a little longer." So that night, Vec and Mira worked together to write the message. They kept it simple. It told the story of the Nolari's fall, the sickness, the Creel, and the last survivors. It was a message of hope, sent out into the cold, empty stars. When the message was sent, everyone waited. They watched the sky. Days passed, but nothing happened. Food began to run low. The shields around the moon started to weaken. Sometimes people heard noises at night and feared it was the Creel coming at last. Children asked their parents if the humans would really come. The parents smiled, but deep inside, they did not know what to believe. On the 5th day after the message, alarms rang through the base. People ran into the hallways, worried the Creel had finally found them. Elder Farron hurried to the control room. Vec was already there, staring at the screens. "It's not Creel ships," Vec said, voice shaking. "It's something else. 4 small ships coming out of hyperspace. Their signals are strange. I think they are human ships." The news spread fast. People filled the halls and pressed their faces to the viewports. They saw the new ships, patched and worn, nothing like the smooth Creel warships. One of the ships sent a signal in a language the Nolari's computers could almost understand. The message was simple. "We received your call. This is Captain Nora and the crew of the Star Runner. We are here to help." People cheered and hugged each other. Some cried. Even Elder Farron wiped tears from his eyes. For the first time in months, hope filled the air. But not everyone was sure. A few elders whispered that the humans might be only looking for treasure or might bring more trouble. Mira did not care. She ran to the landing bay to see them for herself. The human ships landed, their engines noisy and old. Out stepped Captain Nora, tall and smiling, wearing armor that looked as if it had seen many battles. She had a crew of humans, men and women, young and old, all with the same steady look in their eyes. Nora walked up to Elder Farron, took off her helmet, and bowed her head in respect. "We got your message," she said in careful Nolari. "We are here to help. We may not look like much, but we do not give up." Farron smiled and shook her hand. "We welcome you, Captain Nora. Please help us. Our people are tired, sick, and afraid." Nora nodded. "We'll do our best. But we need to know everything. About the Creel, the sickness, and what you have left. We're good at fixing things, but we need your trust." That night, humans and Nolari sat together in the main hall. They shared stories, food, and ideas. The children watched the humans with wide eyes, amazed at how they laughed, even when talking about battles and hard times. The humans made everyone feel a little braver, just by being there. Outside, in the darkness of space, Creel ships circled closer. But inside, for the first time in a long while, the Nolari felt hope. Maybe the humans really could help. Maybe together they could survive. The next morning, the survivors of Lennar felt a new kind of energy. People who had almost given up now hurried through the halls with purpose. For the first time in months, their steps felt light. The humans were here, and hope had returned. But hope was not enough. They had to act fast. Captain Nora and her crew wasted no time. They moved through the Nolari base, asking questions, examining equipment, and sharing supplies. The humans had brought food, simple dried rations, but enough to help the Nolari children who had grown thin and weak. They handed out small bags and cans, and every Nolari thanked them, many with tears in their eyes. Mira, the young scientist, led Nora to the medical center. The room was full of sick Nolari. Some were coughing, others too tired to move. Human. Medics, wearing old uniforms and carrying worn-out bags, went from bed to bed. They checked pulses, took notes, and looked worried. Nora listened as Mira explained how the virus started and how quickly it spread. "We tried everything," Mira said, showing charts and test tubes. "Nothing works for long. Even our best healers got sick. The Creel seem to know just when our defenses are weakest." Nora watched as her medic, Sam, took a sample of the virus. "On Earth, we faced many viruses," he said softly. "Some we beat with science, others with luck. Maybe, just maybe, we can find something the Creel missed." Sam and Mira became a team. They worked together, mixing Nolari medicine with human ideas. They stayed up late every night, sharing stories of failure and tiny wins. Each morning, they hoped for new results. While the medics worked, Nora walked with Elder Farron through the base. "Tell me about your defenses," Nora said. "How do the Creel find you?" Farron sighed. "Our shields are strong, but not perfect. They are powered by old reactors. If the Creel fire enough shots, the shields fall. We have only a few old cannons left. Our best pilots are sick or gone. Nora nodded. We can help fix the shields, but we have another way of fighting. On Earth, when enemies were stronger, we used tricks, surprise, confusion, and teamwork. If the Creel expect us to run, we'll make them pay for every step forward. Nora called her crew together. We need to see the shield generators and weapons. I want 2 teams, one to work with the Nolari engineers, one to help train their guards. We are not here just to defend. We are here to teach them how to fight back. The humans got to work. They crawled through dusty halls, opening old panels and fixing wires. Sometimes a Nolari child followed, asking questions. The humans always smiled and explained everything, even if it was simple. In another part of the base, human soldiers met with the Nolari guards. The guards were tired and afraid, but the humans stood tall and told stories of battles where they were outnumbered but never gave up. They taught the Nolari how to set traps, how to use old weapons in new ways, and even how to fight with just their hands if all else failed. One guard, a young Nolari named Ferek, was scared at first. He had lost his whole family to the Creel. A human soldier, Marcus, noticed him shaking. Fear is normal, Marcus said quietly. But courage is when you act anyway. We are in this together, Ferek. Ferek nodded and tried again, holding his weapon tighter. As the days went on, he and the others started to believe they could protect their people. But the Creel were not far away. Each night, alarms sounded as their ships drew closer to Lenar's moon. The Nolari looked up with fear, but the humans stood with them on the walls, watching the enemy and waiting for their chance. One evening, while Nora was checking shield repairs, Vec rushed into the control room. "Creel scouts!" he shouted. "They are testing the shields. Small ships, just a few shots, but more are coming." Nora grabbed her comm and called her team. "Everyone get ready. This is just the beginning. Don't let them see you're afraid." The Creel ships fired. From above, their weapons sending waves of energy against the shields. Sparks flew and warning lights flashed, but the shields held. Human engineers cheered as their repairs worked. The Nolari children clapped, and for a moment, the halls were filled with laughter. Then the Creel tried something new. One of their ships fired a strange beam. The shields flickered. Vec panicked, but Nora's crew acted fast, using extra power and a new circuit Sam had designed. The shield turned bright blue and held strong. The Creel pulled back, their ships vanishing into the blackness. The Nolari cheered. Even Elder Farron, always calm, let out a long breath of relief. Later that night, the humans and Nolari gathered in the main hall. They shared food and stories. Nora stood up and spoke. "You saw what we can do together," she said. "The Creel are strong, but they are not perfect. If we keep working as a team, they will not break us. We will fix the shields, train your guards, and find a cure. We will show the Creel that we are not afraid." The Nolari clapped, and even the tired guards managed to smile. Meanwhile, Sam and Mira made a small breakthrough. In the lab, after days of tests, they found something new. The human medicine mixed with a Nolari plant slowed the virus in a sick child. Mira's hands shook as she wrote down the results. "It's not a cure, but it's a start," she whispered. Sam hugged her. On Earth, the first step is always the hardest. This is hope, and hope is what wins wars. The next day, children came to the lab. Mira showed them the new medicine, and Sam taught them how to clean and bandage wounds. The children laughed and learned quickly. Their bright eyes made Mira's heart feel light. Outside, Marcus and the guards set new traps around the base. They placed sensors in the rocks and learned how to hide in the shadows, just like the humans. Even Ferek smiled as he helped build a trap with a human who joked about being scared of Earth's spiders. "Humans are strange," Ferek said, smiling. "You laugh even when you are afraid." Marcus nodded. Laughter keeps us strong. When you are scared, laugh a little. It confuses the enemy and gives you strength. Days passed, and the base became busy with work. Shields grew stronger, weapons worked better. The sick began to recover, slowly. And everywhere, humans and Nolari worked side by side, but outside the Creel ships circled closer every night. Vec watched the screens and worried. "They are planning something," he whispered to Nora. "I can feel it." Nora nodded. "Let them come. We will be ready. We have hope now, and hope is stronger than fear." One evening, a child named Lyra ran up to Mira in the hallway. "Is it true the humans will stay with us until the Creel are gone?" Mira bent down and smiled. "Yes, Lyra. They promised to help, and humans always keep their promises." Lyra hugged her and ran off, her laughter echoing down the hall. That night, as the moon of Lennar spun through the stars, the survivors gathered for a meal. They sat with the humans, sharing stories of old Nolari heroes and listening to Earth. Tales about brave explorers and clever inventors. Captain Nora stood and looked around. "We are not so different," she said. "We love our families. We dream of peace. We fight for what matters. As long as we stand together, we cannot lose." The Nolari and humans cheered, their voices strong and full of hope. Outside, in the deep dark, the Creel prepared their next attack. But inside the base, the survivors of Lennar were no longer afraid. They had found something stronger than fear, a chance to fight back, and friends who would never give up. Days passed on the moon of Lennar. Every hour was full of work, hope, and worry. The humans and the Nolari had become a team, fighting against fear and the threat from the Creel together. In every hallway, voices mixed. Humans teaching, Nolari learning, children laughing and sometimes crying, but always moving forward. Captain Nora was busy every day. She checked the shield systems, walked through the training grounds, and listened to every report. She knew the Creel could attack at any time, and she did not want to be caught by surprise. In the medical lab, Mira and Sam became closer friends. They worked side by side, sometimes so tired they forgot to eat. They tried every mix of human and Nolari medicines, testing them on small samples in special containers, hoping for a cure. The lab became full of strange smells and the quiet humming of machines. One morning, Sam noticed something different. In one sample, the virus stopped growing. He called Mira over, excitement in his voice. "Look at this. I think the Nolari plant mixed with our antiviral slows the virus down." Mira's eyes widened. "If we can do this in a living patient, it could save lives. Even if it's not a cure, it's hope." They went to Elder Farron. He listened carefully, then called together the other doctors. A small group of sick volunteers agreed to try the new medicine. The first night, everyone waited and watched the numbers on the screens. The results were small but real. Fevers dropped. Breathing became easier. The doctors cheered quietly. Outside the lab, human engineers and Nolari technicians worked on improving the moon's defenses. The shields, once flickering and weak, now glowed with steady power. Cannons were fixed and new traps were set outside the base. The Nolari, who had never trained for war, learned how to move quietly and watch for signs of the enemy. Even the children were taught what to do if alarms sounded. Marcus, the human soldier, became a leader among the guards. He took Ferek and a group of young Nolari to the rocky hills outside the base. There he taught them to listen for the smallest sounds and to spot the shimmer of a Creel scout's shield. Ferek, who used to shake with fear, now moved with quiet confidence. "We used to be afraid of the Creel," Ferek told Marcus one night, watching the stars. "Now I feel like we have a chance." Marcus nodded. "You do. When people work together, they can beat almost anything." But not everyone felt strong. Some Nolari were still weak from sickness. Others remembered family and friends lost to the Creel and struggled with sadness. The humans understood this too. At night, they sat together and shared stories of Earth, of hard times and new beginnings, of great storms and the sun rising after darkness. Then, one afternoon, the alarm sounded through the halls. Red lights flashed, and a deep voice called everyone to the main meeting room. Vec, the technician, was at his screen, pale and sweating. "Creel ships," he said. "At least 10. They are coming straight for us." Captain Nora took charge. Everyone to battle stations. Guards to the walls. Medics to the safe rooms with the sick and children. No one is alone. Nolari and humans moved quickly. The shields came to life. Cannons pointed at the sky. In the medical bay, Mira hugged the children and whispered that everything would be okay. The Creel ships came in fast, dark shapes against the stars. Their weapons fired glowing shots at the shield, shaking the whole base. But this time, the shield did not break. Human repairs held strong, and the cannons answered back, sending beams of light into space. The Creel tried new tricks, sending small fighters close to the ground, trying to land troops near the base. Marcus and his guards, hidden in the rocks, sprung their traps. Nets snapped closed, alarms screamed, and the Nolari, once afraid, fought bravely alongside their human friends. One Creel ship landed behind the base, breaking through a weak part of the wall. Inside, Nora led a small team to stop them. They moved quietly through the hallways, using every shadow, every door to their advantage. When they met the Creel soldiers, the humans used smoke grenades and loud noisemakers. The Creel, surprised by the chaos, became confused. Nora shouted, "Now!" and her team rushed in. The Nolari guards followed, moving faster than they thought possible. In a few minutes, the Creel soldiers were pushed back, retreating to their ship. The humans and Nolari cheered as the enemy blasted away, leaving only burn marks behind. As the last Creel ship pulled away from Lennar, the people on the moon gathered in the main hall. There was cheering, clapping, and hugs. Elder Farron stood in front of everyone, holding up his hands for quiet. "This was our first true victory," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "We did not run. We did not hide. We stood together with our human friends, and we won." The Nolari children, sitting with the humans, started to sing an old song of hope. The humans joined in, their voices mixing in a melody that filled the hall. It was a song about new dawns and brighter days. After the celebration, everyone went back to work. The base needed repairs, the sick needed care, and everyone knew the Creel would return, maybe stronger than before. In the days that followed, Mira and Sam improved the new medicine. More sick, Nolari began to feel better. Some were even able to leave their beds and help with small tasks around the base. The children's laughter returned, and even the oldest survivors found reasons to smile. Nora met with her crew and the Nolari Council. "The Creel will not give up," she said, "but we have shown them that we will not be easy prey. Now is our chance to prepare. We must send messages to other survivors. Let them know it is possible to fight back." The Nolari sent signals to other hidden bases, telling them about the humans, the medicine, and the victory on Lennar. Slowly, messages returned. Other groups of Nolari wanted to know how to make the medicine, how to fight, how to work with humans, even. The Creel noticed the change. Their ships no longer moved so boldly through Nolari space. They sent fewer patrols near Lennar. Sometimes their signals were filled with angry, worried voices. For the first time, it seemed the Creel were afraid. One night, Mira and Sam sat outside the base, looking at the stars. The air was cool and still. "Did you ever think you would see a day like this?" Mira asked softly. Sam smiled. "On Earth, we always say there is hope, even in the darkest times. I think today proves that." Mira nodded, watching a shooting star streak across the sky. "I'm glad you answered our call. I don't feel alone anymore." You never were, Sam replied. We just needed to find each other. As the sun rose over the moon's rocky hills, the survivors prepared for whatever came next. They had hope, they had friends, and now they had the strength to fight for their future. The days after the first victory passed quickly on Lennar. The Nolari and humans knew the Creel would not give up. But now, everyone moved with new purpose. Children helped where they could, singing as they carried water or swept floors. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers met every day, sharing ideas and making plans. For the first time, Lennar felt like a home again. Captain Nora often stood on the wall, watching the stars and thinking. She knew the Creel would return, and probably with a much bigger fleet. They had to get ready, not just for another attack, but for the chance to end the Creel threat once and for all. In the medical lab, Mira and Sam worked with tired but happy faces. The new medicine did not cure everyone, but it slowed the sickness, giving doctors time to help the weak recover. Some older Nolari, who had almost given up, now walked in the gardens each morning, their faces brighter than before. But the Creel were not gone. Scouts sometimes spotted dark shapes near the moon's edge. The alarms sounded less often, but everyone was on edge, waiting for the next move. One evening, as Nora finished her rounds, Vec called her to the control room. The screen showed a huge Creel ship, larger than any before, moving toward Lennar. Small ships followed, shining like teeth around their leader. They're coming, Vec said, voice low. This is their big attack. Nora nodded. She called. A meeting with the Nolari Council, her crew, and the guard leaders. The hall filled with worried voices. This is what we feared, Elder Farron said. If they break our shields, we cannot stop them. Nora stood and spoke quietly, but every word was strong. This is our chance. The Creel think we are weak. We will show them they are wrong. We will not just survive. We will fight, and we will win. Marcus added, we have new traps, stronger shields, and most important, each other. Ferek, the young Nolari guard, stood. The Creel are afraid of us now. I saw it in their eyes during the last fight. Let's make them even more afraid. The room grew quiet. For a moment, fear almost took over. Then Mira, who was never a fighter, spoke. We have hope now. That is our weapon. Nora nodded. We will use everything, every trick, every friend, every bit of courage. We will send a small team to sneak onto the big Creel ship and make trouble. If we break their control systems, their attack will fail. Vec volunteered to help lead the team. He knew the enemy's signals and could find weak spots in their systems. Marcus and Ferek joined him, along with 2 human engineers and a Nolari pilot who had once flown spy ships. That night, as the Creel fleet drew closer, the special team snuck out in a small, fast ship, covered in pieces of old metal to hide them from Creel scanners. Nora watched them go, her heart heavy but hopeful. Back at the base, Nora, Mira, and Elder Farron worked to keep everyone calm. They checked the shields, gathered food, and helped children write messages to loved ones far away. The Creel ships came, closer. Soon they filled the sky with their dark shapes. The lead ship sent a message, loud, harsh, and full of threats. They ordered the Nolari to surrender. Nora answered, her voice steady. We will never surrender. If you want Lennar, you will have to fight for it. The battle began at sunrise. Creel weapons hit the shields, sending waves of energy through the ground. Cannons fired back, and some Creel ships fell, burning bright as they crashed. The humans and Nolari used every trick. Traps, smoke, mirrors, even pieces of space junk turned into flying shields. Inside the enemy fleet, Vec and his team moved like shadows. They dodged patrols and crawled through dark tunnels. Marcus led them to the main power room. There, Vec found a panel he had seen in old Creel messages. He worked fast, hands shaking, while Marcus and Ferek guarded the door. Just as Creel soldiers discovered them, Vec finished. The lights flickered. All over the big Creel ship, alarms blared and doors locked shut. The ship spun out of control, bumping into two smaller ships and causing confusion among the Creel fleet. On Lennar, Nora saw the enemy ships slow and change direction. She shouted to her gunners, "Now! Hit them while they're confused!" The Nolari and human cannons fired again. The Creel ships, now in chaos, became easy targets. Some tried to run, others crashed into their own fleet. The special team rushed back to their small ship. Ferek, breathing hard, laughed for the first time in weeks. "We did it! We really did it!" Back on Lennar, the Creel tried one last desperate attack, sending their ground troops through the weakest part of the shield. But the guards and soldiers, now full of courage, stood their ground. The traps worked perfectly, and the humans fought with energy and skill. Even the children threw stones and shouted, refusing to give up their home. At last, the Creel sounded the retreat. Their leader's ship, now broken, drifted away with the rest of the survivors. After the battle, the survivors of Lennar stood outside under the stars. They were tired, some were hurt, but all were together. Captain Nora spoke first. "You fought. For your home, for each other, and for hope. No one can take that from you. You showed the Creel what happens when people stand together." Elder Farron, with tears in his eyes, thanked the humans. "You did not have to help us, but you did. You gave us the strength to believe in ourselves again." Mira hugged Sam, whispering, "Thank you. We could not have done this without you." Sam smiled and answered, "You were always strong. You just needed a little help to remember it." That night there was a feast on Lennar. The humans shared. Earth Foods and the Nolari brought out their best dishes. People danced, laughed, and sang songs from both worlds. The children played games, running around the tables, and for the first time in a long while, no one was afraid. In the days that followed, other Nolari survivors sent messages of hope. Some began to return to Lennar, bringing stories of small victories against the Creel. News of Lennar's stand spread across the galaxy. Even the Creel seemed to keep their distance. For the first time in years, the Nolari Alliance looked to the future with hope. Captain Nora, her mission done, stood on the edge of Lennar's gardens, watching the sunrise. Mira joined her, both quiet as they listened to the morning birds. "We will stay and help rebuild," Nora promised. "Earth will send more help too. You are not alone." Mira nodded, her eyes shining. "Thank you, Nora. Thank you, humans. You gave us our lives back." The Creel had been turned back, their power broken by the courage and hope of two peoples who, together, had proved that unity could change the fate of a world. But as everyone knew, true peace is never easy. The galaxy was wide and there were still dangers out there. Yet for the people of Lennar, fear was gone. In its place grew something new and much stronger: friendship, courage, and hope for tomorrow. The long, hard battle was finally over, but life on Lennar was only just beginning again. For the first time in many months, the sun seemed to shine brighter. The air on the moon was filled with the sounds of laughter, singing, and the voices of people planning for the future. Hope was no longer just a dream. It was real. Captain Nora stood on a small hill near the gardens, watching as Nolari and humans worked together. Children played, chasing each other around the garden paths. Elder Farron watched nearby, smiling gently every time a child giggled or a group of friends shouted with joy. The feeling of fear was gone, replaced by excitement and happiness. Inside the main hall, a group of engineers from both species talked about building new homes, repairing old machines, and making Lennar into a true city. Vec showed the humans the old Nolari maps and explained where the best places to grow food would be. The humans shared their knowledge, telling stories about how their ancestors turned empty lands on Earth into rich green fields. Mira and Sam walked through the medical center, checking on the last patient still fighting the virus. Each room was brighter now, full of flowers and cards drawn by children. The new medicine, made from both Nolari plants and human science, was working. More and more, Nolari got better every day. Some who had been too weak to walk now sat outside, feeling the sunlight on their faces for the first time in months. Sam smiled at Mira, seeing her tired but happy face. "You did it," he said quietly. "You never gave up." Mira shook her head. "None of us did. Not me, not the humans, not anyone here. We all fought together. In the evenings, the survivors held gatherings in the open square. They cooked, food over big fires, sharing recipes from both worlds. Human bread baked next to Nolari spiced cakes, fruits from Earth mixed with sweet berries grown in the moon's gardens. Songs were sung in 2 languages, with the children laughing as they tried to learn each other's words. Captain Nora was the guest of honor at many of these gatherings, but she always insisted that every person, human or Nolari, was equally important. "We won because we trusted each other," she said at one feast. "We made a promise to stand together and we kept it." One day, a signal arrived from another planet. The message was shaky but clear. A group of Nolari who had heard of Lennar's victory asked if it was true that the Creel could be beaten. They begged for advice and help. Nora gathered her crew and the Nolari leaders. "We can't keep this hope to ourselves," she said. "If others are suffering, we must help them too." Vec worked late into the night, helping send instructions and messages to other Nolari outposts. The children made drawings showing humans and Nolari standing side by side, holding hands in front of a bright sun. These pictures were sent along with the messages, and soon replies began arriving. Some were from Nolari, others from small groups of other species who had once thought the Creel were unbeatable. Now they wanted to join the fight. The Nolari, Council, and the humans decided to send small teams to visit these new friends. They would share their medicine, teach their defense tricks, and show how unity made the difference. Ships were prepared, each one carrying a human engineer, a Nolari scientist, and supplies. Ferrek, once so afraid, was chosen as a leader of one team. Marcus shook his hand. "You're ready, my friend. You learned what courage is. Now, teach it to others." Ferrek smiled. "I'm still afraid sometimes. But I know now that's not a reason to give up." "Thank you, Marcus." Meanwhile, Mira and Sam focused on finishing the cure. It was not perfect, but every day it saved more lives. Mira looked at the pile of thank you notes from families and felt proud, but she never forgot the faces of those lost. "We do this for everyone," she whispered, "for the ones we saved and the ones we couldn't." Children from both worlds became friends. They learned new games, made up songs, and even started their own club, calling themselves the Hope Guardians. They promised to always look out for each other, no matter what planet or star they lived on. One day, Elder Farron called a meeting in the main hall. It was time to thank the humans for their help. The hall was decorated with banners, flowers, and the flags of both worlds. Every seat was filled. Even the sickest survivors were carried in to join the celebration. Elder Farron stood up, looking at Nora and her crew. "You came when we had nothing left. You brought hope and friendship, not just medicine and weapons. We are alive because of you." Nora shook her head gently. "You are alive because you chose to fight, even when hope was small. We only gave you a chance. The Council gave the humans a special gift, a crystal from the heart of Lennar, shining, with many colors." "This is our thank you," Farron said, his voice full of feeling. "But more important, you have our trust and friendship, always." Nora smiled, touched by the gesture. "We will always answer if you call. That's what friends do." Later, Mira stood with Sam by the gardens, watching the stars appear in the sky. "Do you think the Creel will come back?" she asked quietly. Sam thought for a moment. "Maybe. But now, they know we can fight back. They know they cannot break us." Mira nodded. They thought we were weak. But together, we were strong. That night, the moon was full and bright. The people of Lennar gathered outside. They told stories of the hard days, but also of kindness and bravery. They remembered those lost, and they promised to protect each other in the days to come. As the night grew late, the children of the Hope Guardians put on a little play. They acted out the story of the first message to the humans, the arrival of Captain Nora's ship, and the great battle that saved Lennar. Everyone cheered, and Nora laughed as a small boy pretended to lead the charge, shouting, "We will not surrender." The celebration lasted until dawn. When the first light touched the gardens, Captain Nora met with Elder Farron and Mira. "We will send more humans soon," she promised. "Builders, doctors, teachers. And if the Creel come back, we will fight together side by side." Farron smiled. "Thank you, Nora. We are ready. We are not afraid anymore." Ships left Lennar in every direction, carrying the message of hope and unity. Across the stars, more worlds joined the alliance. The Creel, once feared by all, now found themselves outnumbered and outsmarted wherever they tried to attack. On Lennar, life became busy with new beginnings. Schools opened, gardens grew bigger, music and laughter filled the air each day. The friendship between humans and Nolari became famous, and soon other species came to learn and help. The once small moon became a symbol of what courage and unity could do. Mira, Sam, Marcus, Ferrek, Vec, Elder Farron, and Captain Nora would always remember the days when hope was almost lost, and how, by trusting in each other, they found something even greater. In the end, the true victory was not just survival, but the bond they created, strong enough to last through any darkness. The story of Lennar was told and retold, a lesson for all who heard it. When all hope seems lost, reach out, never fight alone. And remember, even in the coldest night, courage and friendship can bring a new dawn.